we are with another episode of Influencers, and I truly am very lucky to be able to interview really incredible people, a la the name Influencers. We have Elle Key. Elle is not only an incredible advocate for MPTF, who I met a couple of years ago, but she is a multi-hyphenate. Like literally everyone that we get to interview is writer, director, producer, brains behind the scene, in front of the camera, incredible person, bigger picture media. You are an influencer. Elle Key, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. This is fun. This is exciting.
Where are you? I know you've been traveling a lot, girl. Where are you at right now?
Let's just talk geography. We're on the East Coast right now.
You are?
Outside of New York City.
But you were were you not just in Toronto?
We were in 3 days. We were in LA and Toronto and New York. So
okay, normal, right? Normal for very normal for you.
Sure. I know you wanted to talk about the podcast, and I know you want to talk about the history of sketch comedy. But actually, since I'm not far from New York City at the moment, maybe something you didn't know is one of my origin stories is that I grew up in a family where at every meal, at every holiday, everyone told jokes that everybody shared, right up to my grandmother. My grandfather had limerick books, and when we were kids, everyone told jokes. And when we went to Thanksgiving, I had aunts and uncles that always tried to outdo each other, and my dad told jokes, and my mom knows jokes. So when I was a kid, I grew up in this culture, New York Jewish culture, where the humor was such a huge part of my childhood that as I got older, I really made an effort to remember the jokes and remember. One of my cousins once said that I remember every joke grandma ever told. Okay,
so deliver, please. Because by the way, I want to be at this table. I feel like this is a whole nother show.
It's a whole thing.
But you obviously have to deliver some of these moments of your home.
When I met Keegan Michael Key, who's my producing partner and writing partner, we hit it off. Not just because we had like minds and we were trying to build something and do this similar goals in our careers, but I guess on other sides, we make a good team because we both have different skill sets. But I'm
going to interrupt you. You make the best team. Al, you guys make the best team, the balance, the beauty. And many people, well, they know about you, but you are just the wit and I love Keegan. Hi, Keegan. Al, you are very much a part of this. So please continue. I would love to hear what the team is.
So and forgive me if this was not the way you were expecting to go, but I know we're live. So
you don't have a format, girl. Come on, we're chatting. You're going to be on this. Like, this is going to be a 3-hour, 3-part series. Keep going. I don't care.
So when I'd met Keegan a couple times in passing, and we knew people in common, and there was a project that we were going to work on that didn't work out, all of that stuff. So we had a meeting kind of about like what we can do or how we can support each other, or as if there a world where we could find some kind of creative team down the line. And one of the things that's so incredible about Key and Peele is when you go in a direction or have a game and you don't know what's going to come, or you try to get ahead of what the joke is. When you hear a joke, you're like, I think I know where this joke is going. Yeah. And then it gives you a zag instead of a zig, or a zig instead of a zag. Mm-hmm. So we had this really fantastic conversation about why people laugh, what makes jokes funny, what kinds of jokes do you like, what kind of humor is clever or funny to you. And there are a couple of jokes that I told at that meeting, and Keegan had never heard them. He grew up in Detroit, didn't have a Jewish grandmother. I had no idea that he existed.
Sorry for him. Yeah.
I told him a couple jokes, and I was like, wait a second. You don't know any of these jokes. I have buckets of jokes that my husband had never, and you know, my friend at the time had never heard. And I was like, this is awesome.
What a perfect audience, right? You're like, I have this wealth of ridiculously amazing humor that maybe so many people in my network heard, and he had no idea.
No. And so, and some of them are really, really short and simple. So here's a simple joke, super simple joke that that's still one of Keegan's favorite, is the old lady yells down to her husband and she says, Morty, why don't you come upstairs and make love to me? And the husband yells back, fine, but I can't do both.
Oh my God. Like, so I'm not going to equate them to dad jokes, but like, right?
Yeah,
these are just. Yeah,
I guess we call them, like, from my world, you'd say, you know, like the old Jewish jokes. And you know, my grandmother. One of the last jokes I remember, my grandmother passed maybe 20 years ago, but I always remember that one of my grandmother's favorite jokes was there's an old man, and it's his 90th birthday, and the doorbell rings. And forgive me for anyone who probably, this one is a little more common, and there's different versions of this out there. So he's 90 years old, it's his birthday, the doorbell rings, and there's a beautiful young woman standing in the doorway with a raincoat. And she says, on your birthday, I'm going to give you super sex. And she opens the raincoat, and she's a stunning, beautiful young lady. And the old guy says, super sex? I'll take the soup. So silly. But you don't, you know it's going somewhere. You don't know where it's going, but you go, okay, that makes sense. So whenever someone says super this, I'm like, super sex, I'll take the soup. You gotta take the soup. So Keegan
always take the soup. I feel like that might be the name of a production company. You have a good one, but like, I'll take the soup. You know what I love, Elle, is like that moment where a joke, you might like have to think about it, and there's a pause for a quick second, and then the laugh comes. Like, it doesn't have to be immediate. Like, those are the best.
Or
oh my God.
We call it sticky sometimes.
Yes.
You think about it later and you're like, oh, that was pretty funny. So what Keegan and I started doing is figuring out what the anatomy of a joke is that we both enjoy. Yeah. And you know, it's hard to get someone to really laugh out loud at a joke. But what makes somebody actually laugh? Like, how do you get someone to really respond and really laugh? So for years and years, we talked about this kind of the science of humor in a way. It's like, what makes someone uncomfortable? What makes people know the bit? You know, what makes people, you know, everyone from, you know, the older comics that used to do, that came out of vaudeville and things like that. What were those jokes and why do they work? Or why do the Marx Brothers make us laugh so much? Or when there's an old man and he's complaining to the Marx Brothers, he's like, you know, a war would be a prohibitive use of our taxes. And then Chico says, taxes? Hey, I got an uncle who lives in the taxes. And he goes, no, taxes, money, dollars. And he goes, dollars? That's where you live. $1 taxes. It's like, why is that so sticky? And why does that stay with you? And so years ago, someone pitched the idea of Keegan writing a book. And I was like, well, you write what you know, right? That's first and foremost. That's the easiest one. If you ever have to write something, write what you know. Sure. So Keegan and I tried pitching Keegan this idea of, let's write a book on sketch comedy. That's a no-brainer, right? Keegan-Michael Key, sketch comedy. I'm a writer. We'll help put this book together. And so we started, you know, I think he was a little hesitant at first. But we started collecting kind of ideas, stories, Keegan's history, where I'd kind of interview him and talk to him about the Second City where he studied. Or I talked to him about the humor of the characters that he grew up around, that influenced characters that he plays or played on.
Elle, were these like new conversations for you? I mean, you know this person so well. Was this like a pretty special thing for you? Were you reiterating things you already knew, or was this great for you?
I think it was kind of like Keegan actually has anatomy, like language for these things.
Yeah.
I knew that I like a joke with a turn.
Yeah.
I knew that I like a joke that you think it's going that way and it goes this way. And you're like, okay, I did not see that coming. That I love a joke with a turn.
Yeah.
And so Keegan's the one who starts saying, oh, that's got a zig, that's got a zag, that's got a turn. We call that a this. And so I don't even know if these are real terms or these are Keeganese terms, maybe. So Keegan and I had
he analyzed them in a sense that was different. Like he put your thoughts into like an analysis.
Yes. Yeah. Like, why do I like this?
Yeah.
And then we started talking about what is unexpected and inevitable. So if you watch a movie or a story, a great story ends with something that's unexpected and also inevitable. You're like, yep, that would make sense. That makes sense that ends this way. That makes sense that joke ends that way. So it almost, in a way, this kind of book idea started unfolding. And so I spent about 5 years collecting stories, collecting jokes, kind of pitching ideas with our team and agents and figuring out how to put this together. And when COVID started and we weren't really sure how long this would be, I don't know. I feel like my watch, I don't know. Is it still, I don't know how long this thing's going.
Yeah. Yep.
One of someone on our team said, what if it was a podcast instead of a book? So
the pandemic gave birth to a lot of great podcasts, by the way. So I guess if we're looking for silver linings, it's the history of sketch comedy, by the way.
So what I did is I basically pitched this idea that if Keegan-Michael Key was a visiting professor at NYU and he taught a 10-part class on the history of sketch comedy, it would be a very, very popular class.
Yeah.
And Audible was like, we're in. And so I kind of took each episode, everything from Commedia dell'arte and Greek history, and I learned a lot from Keegan. And then Keegan and I did a lot of research together, like what was the first joke? What Sumerian told a fart joke, which I can't believe exists. Like they invented the wheel and fart jokes. How is that possible? And how do you get through, how do you take it's from radio and these really interesting things about the comics that were really good on radio had to tell jokes that were verbal, that you can hear, right? They had to speak the joke because they're on a radio, and someone on a stage, you could have physical humor. But when radio came along, if you were a really good physical performer, it doesn't translate to radio. And then you have people like the Marx Brothers who were great on stage and have good jokes. And when they ended up being in movies, if you watch a Marx Brothers movie, they pause because they know there's going to be laughs at home. Because on stage, they've done those jokes so many times, they know to wait for the laugh, even though you're watching it on a screen. So we learned all of these little ins and outs. And when Audible came to me and said, okay, so are you going to get clips from sketches and from past movies and shows? I said, no, I actually have this idea to have Keegan do all of the voices. So Keegan is every single voice in every sketch on the entire podcast of the history of sketch comedy. So he's Dudley Moore and Peter Cook. He's everyone from Monty Python. He's any sketch we talk about, and he does a great Cher impression. Tim Conway. Everyone that we touch base, Keegan talks about the sketches, and we wrote out a script. So he sat in a booth and he read from the script, but very animated, of course. And then we put in jokes, and we put in some of my past jokes and his jokes in our lives and how things are funny and things like that you don't realize. If you go, you've probably been to some kind of corporate event, right? Yes. A lot of people probably watching have been to an event for work where they have a stage and they have people talking all day long, and you listen to, what the latest ball bearing ideas are or whatever's going on in the world.
Right, yeah.
And then there's usually some kind of little break in there where they have something entertaining. Maybe they have a costume contest. Maybe they have a game show where they have different people from different departments competing in some kind of contest. It's literally the definition of variety. they throw in some variety because you can't sit through 6 hours straight of ball bearings. And many, many years ago, when there was a dramatic...
Well, you shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. If you can't, like, you shouldn't.
Hey, I love ball bearings. I'm sure they're very helpful in my daily life. But
very practical.
Very practical. We need them. We need them. Whoever, someone out there has invented ball bearings.
We're fans of ball bearings for anyone who's going to disagree. Yes, absolutely.
So, but this idea of the variety and shaking it up, I mean, if you sat through a play, like let's say you sat through a 3-hour drama, and back in the day, it took 20 minutes or 30 minutes to change the set or change the scenery, they would have these little groups come out and perform comedic sketches to entertain the audience.
Yeah.
And those comedic sketches were so much fun and people liked them so much. Someone said, well, what if we just did a show of just the comedic sketches?
Right.
Not do the 3-hour, not do the 3-hour play, not do the tragedy, not do the drama, not 6 hours of ball bearings, but we mixed it up so they put in these things and they became these variety shows, which kind of still exist today in talk shows. Keegan's been on sketches on Jimmy Fallon. Keegan's, you watch a show, there's a monologue, a comedic monologue.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a music, sometimes there's animal acts or tricks. These they come for a reason because they worked and they worked really, really well.
I don't mean this to like go exactly along the trajectory of MPTF because but these sketches have evolved and their place has been solidified and they keep evolving and they're so necessary. That's what's so wonderful, right? It's like, they're so necessary. I remember, a quick anecdote of being, a fan and being like LA adjacent of the industry. And you go to a show, you go to a sitcom, and the best part of those sitcoms were the people in between keeping the audience engaged. And that's that, right? I mean, and what a hard job that was for that person to get up to this audience who was very clearly there to see John Stamos or like, whoever was like, obviously I'm aging myself and that was my time of, the comedies that you saw. But it's that person that gets up there and provides that comic relief. And Elle, I have to ask you about something you mentioned, and everyone needs to watch this sketch show. It is amazing. And the writing, your partnership just blows me away. But you mentioned the first joke. What in your research led you? What was the first joke? What was that?
It was more about, it was something that was written down about farting on someone's lap. It's I'm sure there's been
always funny, always funny.
But that there were jokes in Sumeria a very long time ago. There were, but then you also know the Greeks were funny. The Greeks would have comedies. The Greeks would have tragedies and the Greeks would have comedies. And there was even a comedy festival. And we're talking hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Yeah. And then there were traveling troops through Italy that were called the Commedia. Sometimes people picture characters like Arlecchino. They have this like mask with the long nose.
Yeah.
Those masks that kind of just cover the top of your face. And they're different masks. And those different masks were these different characters. So, and they started using the same characters and the troops would learn the same characters. And those characters would have the same characteristics. So if you go to any town, they would have an Arlecchino or Pantalone. They would have these people that one would be the miser. And the miser is the angry man who hoards the money and, is difficult older guy. Or there'd be a trope would be like a soldier who pretends to be a hero, but he's actually a real scaredy cat, kind of a cowardly lion kind of character. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There would be the young lovers that they have to be together. And there would always be someone trying to break up the young lovers, right? So these were hundreds of years ago, but then you look at Father of the Bride, or you look at stories now and you go, even on Seinfeld, George Costanza is the miser, right? Or this person is this character, or this person is, there was even one that was like the housekeeper maid who is very sassy. And how many TV shows do we have now that have that piece of that? So what's really incredible is that because of that journey that Keegan and I took putting this history together, some things we knew, some things we learned, some things we learned together. When we look at projects together now, or when we're writing something together now, it really affects how we perceive it, how we write it. And we say, oh, you know what's missing here is they need a little more Arlecchino in this.
I was going to say, do you look at that formula? I mean, you obviously, like, to me, it was so intuitive to ask you about the science of this. And then you said it because it's just so obvious and how amazing you bring this to us and you make it obvious. And it's so deep and it's so layered. It's not easy to tell a joke. I think right? It's not easy at all to get a laugh.
Well, that was a simple one. I think if anyone wants to write that one down, I love the old lady yells down to her husband, Morty, why don't you come upstairs and make love to me? Fine, but I can't do both. Like, that's the joke. And I think that's a really easy one. If all you need in that one, I think, for performance is the hesitation of fine, but I can't do both. I'm either coming up the stairs or making love.
Delivery. It's delivery.
So that one, all you need is that one, fine, I can't delivery. But it's not, I think part of it too is confidence, because you do have to take a risk. Like, whenever you're performing on camera, off camera, it's a risk. But I think that sometimes, and we've all seen this, when people are having fun and humor, it's infectious. It's infectious when you see how much joy, for example, Keegan brings to a project that's got humor in it or fun in it. I was very lucky. I got to be a fly on the wall yesterday. Jordan and Keegan have a project coming out called Wendell and Wild with Henry Selick, who does the stop motion animation. And it's a Halloween movie. But watching Keegan and Jordan interact in an interview, they both have improv training and Jordan was, I think it's called Boom Chicago. And Keegan was at Second City, and then Jordan was at Second City for a while as well, kind of learning some of the Second City world. And they have the same language, so that, and once you learn things like comedia, I have a line in the podcast about it's almost like the Pro Bowl for the NFL, that you could play football with people you've never played football with, but everyone knows what the quarterback's job is. Everyone knows what the kicker's job is. Everyone knows what a running back does. And the plays are similar. So it's not that different in comedy, because someone's going to be the miser. Someone's going to be those young lovers. Someone's going to try to break them up. Someone's going to try to, cause chaos if that's their job. So if you were improvising with Keegan or with someone who learned about these characters or these tropes or these ideas, it's really, really easy, because if I see Keegan doing a certain thing, then I go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. If there are two lovers on stage, I'm going to try to whisper to one and make up a lie to make them not want to be together. Like, there's so many things that you could do, and you go, I know what role I'm playing. If you're playing the fancy house owner, I'm going to play the housekeeper, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to be, give them attitude or whatever, be sassy.
Right.
So
right.
It's you just kind of learn the playbook.
I want to ask you, because you clearly, obviously you get it. And this is a role you've chosen. I know it's a role you've chosen, but you're actually so good on the camera side and the delivery of it. Is that, I just want to ask you, is that not your, why? Why not?
I guess I've done it. I've been there. Years and years ago, I worked off Broadway. I worked in theater, and I thought that the way you made movies was by acting, because that's the only person you saw.
Yeah.
But as I went along, I realized it's so much fun creating. It's so much fun getting responses. And I'm very lucky. I was able to find a partner, or the universe connected me with a partner who can deliver a line or a joke better. I'm not biased, but better than just about anyone out there.
I will definitely agree.
I don't know anyone.
Your social media, by the way, everyone needs to watch. I mean, you've posted this interaction with Key and Jordan, and it's unbelievable the way you do it with such joy, all of you. all of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are very, very lucky for what we get to do, and it's amazing that all of those years being a kid, listening to those jokes, recalling those jokes, really, really affected me in a way that I'm able to do what I'm doing now.
Well, this is unbelievable. I can't believe we're literally already at the tail end of our interview. So for everyone watching, Elle, I know we've already chatted about it. We got to bring you back many times. I want everyone to know how amazingly generous you and Keegan are, from being at events when I first met you to, the night before when I last saw you, and how incredible you are to. I want to talk about your spirit of philanthropy, but we only have a couple minutes left. I would really like to ask you, and we'll bring you back. How did you know about MPTF? Because I know how I met you both, and I am in awe by both of you. You are so genuine and so generous and so beautiful. This industry is difficult, and it's why MPTF exists. And you two bring so much joy to me, to our residents, to our community. It makes me want to tear up just because you're so beautifully genuine. But just tell us a little bit, since we're going to end soon. How did you learn about MPTF, and why does it matter to you?
Well, when I wanted to be in this industry, I spent many, many years working really hard. I had every job. I PA'd. I produced a couple of independent films. And then even after I produced those films, I still went back to PAing commercials or locking up street corners or getting breakfast burrito orders. That I was like, I know I'm supposed to be here and I don't know how. And I really struggled. I really went through, for most of my life, periods where I would take 3 jobs just to make ends meet. I would do anything I could. So at the time, I had looked into support. I looked into how to get what kind of help is out there. So that MPTF exists for people who are in the business or retired from the business was just an incredible thing that always stuck with me. So,
thank you, by the way. That's not easy to say, and we do struggle with that often. It's probably why not as many people know about us, because it's a hard story to tell. It's hard to say. At one point, we needed help.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say that, and we want to normalize that. Like, we want to normalize so many other things in this world. We love you so very much.
Thank you.
I mean, Elle, we're going to do more with you. I cannot thank you enough for this. I have so many other things we want to chat about, but truly, the science of a laugh, you give us so much. And share this with Keegan. We want to bring you guys on campus, but both of you are just the most amazing souls. And Jen, I know, like, come on, maybe one of the best conversations we've ever had.
Absolutely. And I have an idea. Elle, would you like to come back and have the residents pitch you or tell you their favorite jokes?
That would be amazing. That would be so much fun. That would be fun.
Yes.
I need some new ones. So think about it. We need some new jokes.
Yeah.
Elle, you're not a Buffalo Bills fan. I'm asking that in like a really weird way. Are you a Buffalo Bills fan?
New York Giants. I was born here. I was born in the Bronx.
Okay, good. So the reason I ask is because like I heard a good one the other day that was like such a dad joke. And what the Bills have had a tough time. Okay. What does Bills stand for?
What?
Boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
That's a good one.
Some Bills fans are going to be very upset with me.
We do have to move on to the financial wellness seminar that's scheduled, but
of course we do.
We typically ask all of our guests 2 very hard questions. So if you want to just answer one, and we'll wait and answer the one next time. What is your favorite movie, and what is your favorite television show?
Ooh, those are 2 questions, right? Okay.
2 questions.
I don't have a favorite movie because there's so many different kinds. When I was younger, Raiders of the Lost Ark was up there. The Departed is up there. Defending Your Life is on that list.
Oh, it's such a good one.
Defending Your Life.
Yes.
And let's see. I mean,
Indy 5 is coming out, by the way. So are we excited about Indy 5, Indiana Jones 5?
I'm a purist, I guess. I think the original is hard to beat. It's such a perfect movie from beginning to end. So,
I have no doubt that Key and Peele is one of your favorite television shows, but you have to answer.
I'll just say that. Well, I can tell you this: my favorite actor is Keegan-Michael Key.
I think he's among our favorite actors as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I once got an autograph from him.
You did? Was he kind to you? Was he nice?
Yes, very nice.
He's just really so mean behind the scenes, right? No, that you two. I mean, I think we gush about you all. I think everyone needs to know this, by the way. Everyone sees an industry and they see people acting. You two don't act in that sense. You are the real deal, and we love you so very much. And both of you are such great advocates for us. No, I mean, Elle, I love you dearly. I've seen Keegan talk about us. I've seen you introduce us to people when you didn't have the time to do so. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, honey. We love you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will see you again on Creative Chaos soon.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll take the soup.
I'll take the super sex. Yes, great. Love you guys.